You guys want to talk about folding phone rumors? Well, we have some big ones. Guys, I have been a fan of folding phones really since the original Z Fold devices. I had a Fold 2, a Fold 4, and now, of course, Pixel Fold and OnePlus Open. I love these things, and I really, really loved the Samsung foldables, but there's this one aspect about them that just drives me crazy, and I think a lot of you know exactly what I'm going to say, and maybe you agree with me. The cover display is just far too narrow. It's very narrow, it's very tall. It's just not something that I'm into. I've wanted to see a change there for a long time. Actually, lately, I've wanted that change less simply because devices like the Pixel Fold exist, devices like the OnePlus Open exist. So it's like, hey, there's like a third option, right? There's like short and wide, there's normal, and then there's narrow and tall. Like everybody kind of gets the device that they want. But it seems as though if these rumors are to be believed, and it's a little bit more than a rumor, Samsung may be making a radical change to the Z Fold 6. And make sure you stay to the end because it's not just changes to the Z Fold 6 design, there is yet more. So let's jump to this article. I don't know how you would pronounce that name, so I'm not even going to try. I'll link to them in the description. You're looking at a render that they created, and immediately you're going to look at that and you're probably going to think, excuse me, did they make the Pixel Fold? Because that looks remarkably similar, maybe slightly taller, but it looks remarkably similar to the Pixel Fold. The question is, why do they have this render? What are they basing that on? If we scroll down, and this is where things get a little bit tricky, okay? So they have a patent here showing a foldable device, and you may say, yeah, but patents don't always end up looking like final devices don't always end up looking like their patents. And you're absolutely right about that. So just because they patented a device that looks like this, does that mean that's what the device will eventually look like? Well, if we scroll down here, they kind of did a comparison here showing what prior Z Fold related patents look like versus the ones now. So they've stopped drawing the Z Fold like this in their patents for folding phones, and they've started drawing a folding phone that looks like that. So that does indicate something is happening. You're not going to make a change from drawing it one way to drawing it an entirely different way for no reason. Now, it's entirely possible that this other device is just something else they're working on, and it's not necessarily the Z Fold 6. Put a pin in that. We'll talk about that a bit more. But at any rate, it is possible that this is what this device is going to look like. Now, we also have a prior report here on Naver. This is someone who apparently is a South Korean leaker. Apparently, they know some things about this. And several months ago, they said that they had heard kind of things in this direction. Internal codename Q6, that is the Z Fold 6, has a display with a different aspect ratio from the current ratio. So if you start to kind of combine these things, right? South Korean Samsung leaker, aspect ratios changing, patent showing a device with a different aspect ratio, maybe you're starting to put this together. Now, what if this isn't the Z Fold 6 though? What if this is the Z Fold 6A or the Z Fold 6 FE? Let's jump over to this article on winfuture.de. I will put links to all of these things in the description down below. They have spotted a very curious reference. References to an internal model number of Q6A. I just mentioned Q6 is the Z Fold 6, B6 is the Z Flip 6. What might Q6A be? Well, that could indeed be the oft-rumored cheaper version of the Galaxy Z Fold. We've just recently heard rumors about that as well that have kind of cropped up a couple of times over the last maybe 6 or 8 months. As they say here, the name Q6A probably illustrates the technical proximity to the Galaxy Z Fold 6. Otherwise, the developers wouldn't use such a similar name internally. That is absolutely right. So minimum, this is indicative of an alternative or a separate version of the Z Fold 6. So we have a lot here, right? So we have the patent. We have the leaks. We have the code name of another model. Put all this stuff together, and we don't quite have the full picture because we could be looking at a normal skinny Z Fold and then a wider Z Fold. We could be looking at a wider Z Fold and then a cheaper Z Fold whose aspect ratio is undetermined at this moment. There are many different possibilities, but minimum, some interesting things appear to be happening with the Galaxy Z Fold 6 line. And what I want to hear from you guys is, what do you think about this? Would you like to see a change like this to the aspect ratio of the Z Fold 6 if they released a wider version that was in the ballpark of the Pixel Fold but a little bit taller? How excited for that would you be? What if this is a Z Fold 6 Ultra and then a standard model? There's so many different variants. Hit those comments and tell me how you would like to see this play out. We got two models. Are we going super high and where we are now? Are we going where we are now and a cheaper model? Which model do you want to see get wider? Both of them, one or the other? So much stuff to potentially conceptualize as we talk through this. You know, something else that occurred to me talking about this and thinking about this is that there's a big difference between the Z Fold and the OnePlus Open in terms of their pen support. I don't have the pen for the OnePlus device, but apparently their stylus works on the cover display as well as the internal display, and that has not been a thing with the Z Fold. And honestly, it's not something that many people have like really talked about in my comments. Like, oh, I really wish I could use a pen on this screen. Well, you really don't want to use a pen on this screen because it's so narrow. But if it is suddenly much wider like the Pixel Fold, that becomes a viable canvas for inking, and then you open it up and you have an even more viable canvas for inking, which, by the way, can we look at that image again really quickly? Because when we look at this, yeah, it is still taller than it is wide, so we're not going to a landscape foldable, but we are approaching it. We're getting pretty close to square. Personally, just my feelings, if they make a cheaper variant and it also is that wider phone, it's going to be really hard for me to say no at that point, because the Z Fold 4 was the last Z Fold that I've owned, and I absolutely loved that phone. It is a fantastic phone. So you give me something like that, cut some specs down. Let's be honest, I don't need the bleeding edge specs for what I do. I'm not gaming. I'm not video processing. You can give me something sort of mid-range and cut down, and I'm probably going to be absolutely fine with it. But with some Samsung software, maybe the pen support is still there. That's a pretty compelling package for a lot of people, because now not only do you have the price coming down, but you also have a form factor that isn't going to be immediately strange to people. I can tell you, when I would let people see the Z Fold 4 and 2, they would go, oh, this is just strange. It's a weird form factor. Well, that problem would be solved at that point. So even if it's a premium or the budget model, guys, if this is real, that thing immediately becomes one of my most anticipated devices of 2024. I could go on and on about this for a while, and I probably will on more occasions, but like I said, I want to hear what you think in the comments down below. Like I said, links to all of these articles will be in the description down below, so go check those out. Give them a click and a hit for the reporting that they have done. Subscribe for more content just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.